What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another edition of Tuesdays with Turbo that this week actually happens to be on Tuesday. Last week got kind of crazy, so I did not give you a show last week, but got a pretty good one planned today. We're going to continue on our journey with the trivia here. So if you're watching this live, go ahead and let me know if you get the answers right. Or if you're watching the replay, drop in the comments how many you got right, or if you have any questions on why an answer is the way it is, or just kind of some general Q&A. For those of you that do not know, my name is Ryan Turbo Jackson. I am your insurance resource, and I like to do educational videos on insurance. And this is, normally the videos are about coverages, endorsements, what you should have, what you really don't need, but trying to kind of spruce it up a little bit, kind of introduce some new segments to the show. And this trivia segment is one of them. This is our second rendition of the trivia. This week we're going to be talking about auto insurance trivia. So I went through a whole bunch of scenarios and I thought, well, what the heck? We might as well start off with the basics. Start off with something, some of the main questions we get here at the agency, because like I said, if you have the question, I guarantee there's a lot of other people out there that have the same question that just are afraid to ask it. One thing I will ask you is if you find value in this video, go ahead and share it to your timeline, because you might know all 5 of these answers, but I guarantee there's someone on your timeline that doesn't. So go ahead and help me out and share this. So without further ado, let's get into this week's trivia. And the next trivia show, I'll probably have some more music, some sound effects, kind of spruce everything up. But for this week, this is what we're rolling with. Okay, this is our auto insurance quiz. Question number 1. What does comprehensive cover? A, repairs if your car is damaged in an accident with another vehicle. B, damage caused by theft, weather, or vandalism. Or C, repairs to another driver's vehicle after an accident. Now, one of the things I want to, before we get into the answers, kind of explain things, which the explanation will usually lead towards the correct answer. Comprehensive comes from what most people consider full coverage on your auto. And, like we've talked about in the past, full coverage is not a thing. There is not a single company that offers a policy that has full coverage. But what we've come to know is full coverage, meaning the policy has comprehensive and collision coverage on it. And each one of these coverages carries an independent deductible. Yes, they both can be the same, such as $500 for collision, $500 for comprehensive. And, we'll here in a little bit, we'll talk about the differences between them, especially when it comes to the collision portion here in Michigan. But overall, when we're talking about comprehensive, some companies actually call it other than collision. So think of an instance where, there's damage to your vehicle that happened other than colliding with another vehicle, such as hitting a deer, a tree falling on it, vandalism, things like that. So let's go back to our question here. What does comprehensive cover? And it looks like it's B, damage caused by theft, weather, or vandalism. And you might be thinking, well, weather. Well, yeah, a tree falling on your vehicle is considered a weather related, or a limb or whatever, or even hail damage is considered weather. So that is our answer there. So question 1, answer is B. B. Hopefully everyone got that one correct. Let's go to question 2. Question 2 is, which is usually not covered by standard auto insurance? Answer A, medical bills for injuries caused in an accident. B, routine maintenance or mechanical repairs, or C, damage caused by a natural disaster. Now, if we take a look at each one of these answers, here in Michigan, it's a highly contested or hotly contested issue as the medical portion of your auto insurance. So this answer is going to be the same no matter if you're here in Michigan, here in Indiana, but there is some sort of medical coverage. Now we've gone over, the personal injury protection. Can you opt out when you're with Medicare? So this is your standard policy. Keep in mind, it's not. There are some instances where your auto policy, the medical portion, wouldn't cover. For instance, like I said, you're on Medicare and you select the opt out here in Michigan. There wouldn't be any medical coverage for you in your for your injuries on your auto policy. But let's take a peek back here. Whoops. And we kind of with option C here, we kind of went over that. Natural disaster tends to yield to weather, so flooding. um I mentioned hail damage, trees falling on it, things of that nature. So our answer again here is going to be B, routine maintenance or mechanical repairs. And this is true whether we're talking about the home policy, auto policy, doesn't really matter. Insurance is not there for routine maintenance. And a question we get a lot is, in particular with the roads being as crappy as they are around here, is there coverage for, I just bought new tires a month ago and now all of a sudden I have a flat because I keep hitting these potholes. Is that covered on my insurance? And the answer is no. It would just be like if you're, as we all know, brakes, having your brakes done is not covered by your insurance, as well as, oil changes, things of that nature, any routine maintenance. So again, answer B is going to be our correct answer here for question number 2. Question number 2. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, as you're watching this, if you do have questions, please drop them below. I would be more than happy to, if I have the answer, let you know, or B, if I don't have the answer, I will find us an answer. So let's get on to question 3 here. True or false, liability pays for damage to your vehicle if you're in an at-fault accident? Now, there really isn't a multiple choice here. This is true or false, so it's either one or the other. And here, I've spoke a lot about liability coverage, and it would hurt my heart if everyone that watches this does not get this answer correct. But the correct answer is false. And why is it false? Well, if you remember my little spiel, liability, think lawsuit. Okay, liability, think lawsuit. So when we look at our initial question, liability coverage pays for damages to your vehicle if you're in an at-fault accident. Well, if you're in an at-fault accident as damage to your vehicle, then there really isn't a lawsuit involved here, especially in Michigan when we are a no-fault state where my insurance policy covers me and mine, your insurance policy covers you and yours. There are some circumstances where there could be a lawsuit when it comes to, medical bills or things of that nature. But normally when we're talking about damage to the vehicle in particular, that's where our collision coverage would come in. So if you do have quote unquote full coverage, the damage to your vehicle would come from your collision coverage. So definitely liability plays a huge part in the auto policy, but as far as coverage for this, that would be false. That would be false. So let's go to question 4. And this is honestly right here is one of our most asked questions when it comes to auto insurance. If you lend your car to a friend and they get into an accident, whose insurance is responsible? A, the car owner's insurance, B, the driver's insurance, or C, they both share equally. Now, like I said, this is a question we get a lot where, especially with elderly drivers, where they don't drive as much as they used to, and either a relative or a neighbor or someone they go to church with will drive them to Myers or Walmart or to the bank or to get their hair done or any number of errands. And they always ask, well, so and so runs me around all the time. Do they need to be on my auto insurance? Do they need to be listed as a driver? And in these particular scenarios, the only way to be listed as a driver is if you do live in the household and you are a relative, which we call a resident relative um, in the insurance biz. But when someone does this infrequently or not on a daily basis, where it's, like I said, maybe it's a once a week thing. Maybe, this would also come into play, if your neighbor comes over and says, hey Ryan, my truck is in the shop. Can I borrow your car to run to town real quick to, go to Terrell's? And of course, my answer would be absolutely. But getting back to the question here, it says whose insurance would be responsible. Now, when it comes to situations like this, there's some checked boxes that have to be satisfied. If you're lending your vehicle to another driver, check box 1, are they a licensed driver? And if that box checks, we'll go to check box 2. Do they have your permissive use? And if they're asking permission, and the scenario, where they're out running errands, or it's kind of like an emergency thing, Ryan, can I use your vehicle to run to town? They have permissive use. So in that case, the coverage would come from the car owner's insurance. You might be asking yourself, well, Ryan, why would this be? Well, when it comes to this, the coverage follows the car, not the driver. And in this scenario in particular, because let's imagine that there's a licensed driver that asks to use your vehicle, but they don't have a vehicle of their own. They wouldn't have an insurance policy to kind of kick in to fill any gaps or to cover them. So this is where we always tell people that the car owner's insurance would be responsible for any accident, as long as those two boxes are checked: licensed driver, and do they have permissive use? So like I said, again, this is a question we get a lot, especially considering, here in Marcellus, our clientele is generally on the elderly side. So someone driving their vehicle on and off or sporadically does happen quite frequently. So keep in mind that those two boxes need to be checked: licensed driver and permissive use. Well, let's get to our final question here, and I kind of hinted at it. What does collision coverage? What is collision coverage designed to cover? A, theft or weather damage, or theft or weather related damages, which if you've been paying attention, that one is checked off the list. B, repairs to your vehicle if damaged in an accident. Or C, medical expenses if you're injured. Now, I kind of gave the answer to this one away, and it is indeed B, repairs to your vehicle if it's damaged in an accident. And like I said with the comprehensive question, I would explain a little bit more when it comes to collision. Collision is anytime you collide with another vehicle, or collide with something, I should say. Kind of the weird situation is if you run off the road and hit a tree, that's collision. If you are driving down the road and a tree falls in front of you and you hit it, that's comprehensive. So it's kind of a weird situation. You're colliding with the same thing. It's just whether it's standing or not. That's just kind of how it goes. But for my folks in Indiana, you're stuck with standard collision, meaning you pay your deductible, your car gets fixed, no harm, no foul. Here in Michigan, there's some options we can choose to either diminish or enhance our collision coverage. Now, we do have standard, the same as in Indiana, same as in Illinois, same as in Ohio, but we have one that's referred to as limited, which in order to get the collision coverage, these boxes need to be checked, and it does lower your premium a little bit, but the actuality of checking all of these boxes is very rare. So I don't even sell it. I don't even usually like to promote it and let people know it's out there, because they think they have coverage, but all these scenarios have to happen in order to get coverage, which as the name implies is very limited. And then the vast majority of the policies that I write here or that have been written out of this office have broad form collision. Now, what does that mean? Well, right out my window here, there's an intersection and a stop sign. So let's use you're driving in your car, you stop at the stop sign right outside my office, and you're rear-ended. Now, with standard collision, again, you pay your deductible, car gets fixed, no harm, no foul. With broad form collision, you're sitting at the same stoplight, same driver rear ends you. Now let's take a step back here. If you're sitting at the stop sign, the accident wasn't your fault. You're like, man, it'd be kind of cool if I wouldn't have to pay anything because it wasn't my fault. I was sitting still and someone rear-ended me. Well, this is where broad form collision comes in, because whatever collision deductibles on your policy, if you have broad form, there would be a $0 deductible if you're not at fault. Yes, it costs a little more because you're adding you're enhancing a standard coverage, but in the long run, if you're not prone to accidents, which I know there are some folks that are, but if you're not prone to accidents or the accidents that you've been in haven't been your fault, it might be advantageous for you to check your policy to see if you have broad, or some companies refer to it as broadened, collision, because it could, even though it's a little bit more expensive premium wise, it could save you quite a bit of money if you do like to have a higher collision deductible. So yeah, that's kind of where we fall on this. So let's take a quick look here. What is collision coverage designed to cover? And the correct answer is B, repairs to your vehicle if damaged in an accident. Which, like I said, that's the repairs to your vehicle if damaged in an accident. Kind of a broad answer here, but it should read repairs to your vehicle if damaged in a collision or damage in an accident with another vehicle. That probably would have been a better answer. That probably would have been a better answer. So that's our quiz, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know how you did, and if there's any one of the answers to the questions you'd like some further explanation, please let me know. Here's the ways to get a hold of me. You can comment on this video right here. You can send me a direct message here on Facebook. You can give the office a call, or here's my email. And that's our trivia. This is the second edition of our trivia shows. I'm still trying to come up with a clever name for it, but I'm sure I'll come up with one. But yeah, I kind of like the way, this is a different way of educating folks rather than just the boring, this is what's new, this is what's going on. So let me know if you like this style of video, because they're actually more fun to do. So yeah, that's going to be our video this week. Next week, I'm probably going to go back to the what coverages does this profession need as far as commercial insurance. So kind of keep an eye on that. Everyone have a great week, and I will see you next time.